Another week, another new patch for Crimson Desert. Honestly, the folks at PowerBiz, they just don't sleep. They've now added XeSS 3.0 and we're currently looking at a comparison between Ultra Performance, Performance and Balanced. And as you can see on Ultra Performance, it does become kind of like a watercolor painting. And in terms of FPS, there isn't that much of a difference. Next up, I have XeSS Balanced versus FSR 4 set to Balanced, and we can see the difference here in clarity and in the motion, especially around items on the back. You can see that XeSS is very jumpy. And overall FSR looks much better, but it performs at about 2 FPS lower, so there is some difference here in performance, but the image clarity is a lot better on FSR. Next up, I have some footage in motion so we can really see how it drops down, and both of them will drop below 20 FPS. This is, by the way, on the minimum settings. And it does look like XeSS works a little bit better, but again, we do lose some of that image clarity. Next up, they've also added a frame generation option for XeSS, and this time I've switched back to FSR 3.1 so we can have a more fair comparison. And between the two, it kind of doesn't make any difference. I think XeSS does smear the picture a lot more when you're using frame generation, but in terms of FPS, they're kind of similar. I had a hard time doing a really good comparison because it's the same fight, but I'm looking at different camera angles. But you can see with FSR, we're kind of between 35 FPS and 50 FPS, really depending on the scene. And with XeSS, it's kind of similar situation. Maybe we're getting a few more FPS, but again, the image is a little bit more smeared than it is with FSR. But both perform similar in terms of input lag. I didn't really prefer one or the other when it comes to the actual input lag. If you guys are enjoying this breakdown, consider joining my Steam group and following my Steam curator page. I post written guides, reviews, and performance benchmarks for every game I test on the Steam Deck, so you know exactly how a game runs on the Steam Deck before you decide to purchase it. Links will be in the description below. Next up, I have a really high intensity battle without any frame generation, and again, we're looking at XeSS 3 and at FSR 3.1. They're both set to balanced, and you can see between the two, there's probably 2 or 3 FPS difference, but it really doesn't make any difference for the actual gameplay. This is a little bit further into the game, and you're gonna end up in bigger than this battles, and as you can see, the experience is really not playable. Here we are with the FSR 3.1 unbalanced, and this one I'm just gonna let it play out so you can see FSR 3.1 unbalanced and what it looks like versus XeSS. Now that I think the XeSS battle was actually a lot more chaotic because they kept setting me on fire, but they both perform under 20 FPS. And here with the FSR, we can see that the image is a lot more sharper. We can see a lot more details on Cliff's face. With XeSS, it's a little bit smeared, but maybe if you prefer that, you can definitely use it. Now they've also added a couple of very nice options. We can increase the UI size now on the Steam Deck. It kind of, if you increase it too much, it will kind of overlap, like in this case here, but you can go to accessibility, and here you can increase UI size as well as UI HUD size and the minimum font size. By default, this is set to 15, and you can go all the way up to 24, which I think is a bit too much, but you can play with this and it will probably be a better look on the Steam Deck. Now, keep in mind that for the font size, in order for it to take effect, you do need to restart the game. Now, they've also added two new graphics options. One of them is displacement scale, and the other one is detailed decorative mesh. We can't use any of these on the minimum settings, so it's not really worth talking about them a lot, but displacement scale will make surfaces look more realistic if you set it to at least, if you set model quality to at least a medium level. And detailed decorative mesh has to do with foliage. So foliage density can be set to ultra or higher, and this will add extra decorative meshes such as moss, short grass, and smart pebbles to terrain. Again, on the Steam Deck, we kind of want the opposite of that. So maybe if they can add these graphics and improvements in the future, they could also add a Steam Deck preset or potato quality preset where they remove a lot of these graphics but enable the game to work much better at least 30 FPS. But as I showed in the combat scene, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Another thing that they've added is the camera visual range and camera vertical offset. The visual range will kind of zoom in the camera to your character, or you can zoom all the way out to double that. I have tested how it looks with both of them, and you do obviously lose a couple of FPS when you zoom out all the way, but the gain when you zoom in, it's not that big, and it doesn't really look great to play like that. So that's gonna be it for this video. Another great patch from the folks at Playable. They really are doing God's work. But again, I don't recommend playing this game on the Steam Deck unless you're doing some light farming or some tasks over at the camp. You definitely cannot complete the full game. There are some boss fights that you will really struggle to complete at 15 FPS. Now, they've said that they're going to be adding a difficulty setting in the future. So maybe with that difficulty setting, if you cramp it all the way down to easy, and you can probably play at 15 FPS, but again, this is not how you should experience this game. That's gonna be it for the video. If you guys enjoyed it, consider leaving a like, and if you disliked it, let me know what I can do to improve. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.